All right, I think we're ready to go. So thanks for being here this morning. And we got a few things to do today, mostly in and around artificial intelligence stuff. But if you popped in late, um, Michaela asked if the due date for the AI video changed, and that was this one right here, Deepfakes Destruction. Okay, I did change it to the 14th just to give everybody a little bit more time to watch it. So that video is 50 minutes and 47 seconds. And I think that's a bit of an eye opener. So, even there might be things there that you weren't aware of or sort of like what stage AI is at, and kind of where we're going from there. And it is a little bit scary. It's a little bit exciting. And I guess we'll have to wait and see what people do with it. Because, like any new toy, someone's going to find a way to weaponize it or do something wrong, bad with it, or things like that. So I guess we wait and see to see if AI takes over the world or something crazy like that goes on or something really amazing happens. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. So if we go back to just our little agenda for the day, I just wanted to do a lesson plan check-in. Okay, we'll do that in a bit. And I just wanted to check in with about how you're using or coming along with AI for your lesson plans. Okay. And then I just wanted to remind, if you, this is more for the 7 to 12 group, but if you are using the 7 to 12, the old curriculum, okay, I just want you just to re something. I want to re something this so that we don't get any kind of confusion on your lesson plans. In pardon me, in those curriculum documents, you'll see general rated general learner outcomes, or sometimes you see general learner expectations. Okay, we on lesson plans, we don't want to use those ones. Okay, those are great for unit plans or even for year plans, but if you and I haven't checked, I know that some people have submitted their stuff already. If you use general learner outcomes or expectations, that's okay. You can have it on there as long as you have the specific learner outcome or the specific learner expectation. Okay. But again, these are more for long to medium range planning, and then the specific learner outcomes or expectations are like kind of what you're going to do that day. Like, what are we going to learn in math today? What are we going to learn in science, or that kind of idea? Okay. And then just a reminder also about the slideshows. And I just want to go back here for 1 second too. So a little bit farther back, we had our slideshow, Woosah and all that jazz. And remember, I did say that if possible or where possible, to create a slideshow that then complements or helps you deliver your lesson plan. Okay, so that's going to be part of that assignment as well. So that's due on the 14th, and your completed lesson plan is on the 14th as well. Okay, so if you can attach that slideshow, that's great. If you can't, you can make any slideshow you want, but there's one sort of like but in there, is that it has to be K to 12 related. So if you're going to make a slideshow, it has to map back to an outcome or to a topic or subject or grade. Okay, so you can either do it one of two ways. So again, you can either bolt it onto your lesson plan and help you deliver that lesson plan, or you can do a separate slideshow, but it has to be K to 12 related. Okay. Perfect. And then the other thing we'll do is we're going to have some notes today on AI. We may not even get them all done, but that's okay. Okay. So this morning, just before I get rolling, I've got a couple slideshows and things that I want to walk through with you about AI. Is there any questions about the lesson plans or things that you're having difficulty with? No? This is where I wish I had Jeopardy music. Right? No? Everybody thinks they're good? Okay. Oh. Well, in your slideshow doesn't, no, pop in there anytime you want, if you want, Jennifer, but your slideshow doesn't have to be like a lesson plan. Your slideshow is a resource, right? So, for example, when we're talking about greenhouse gases, I mean, if you had some pictures in there talking about factories and cars and cows and you know things that cause greenhouse gases, that could be potentially good enough, right? And if you in ChatGPT, I'll just show you what I did here, right? When I was thinking about this whole lesson plan, right? Where is it? Well, I might have deleted it. Anyways, in here, I just typed, what are the causes of greenhouse gases? And it came up with this great list. There's things in there that actually I didn't even know that. So just as an example, if that's what you were going to do, then you could just do a series of, again, remember pictures, right? And then a little bit of speaker's notes, and you could talk about the causes of greenhouse gases, that kind of idea. So something that will supplement or really help solidify your lesson plans, and a slideshow can do that. Okay, your slideshow doesn't have to be the entire lesson, right? It can be just something that helps support what you're talking about. Well, again, for displays materials, for in your slideshow, you may not have any, right? Again, it is not the lesson plan. Your slideshow is not the lesson plan. So you don't need an anticipatory set in there. You don't need all of those steps. You just need pictures, right? Or something that will help support what you're doing in that lesson. So you don't need any displays and materials, because your slideshow is the displays and materials. That actually, your slideshow should go on your lesson plan. It should go down there under displays and materials, slideshow on, greenhouse gases or whatever your lesson's about. Okay. Okay, let me just look at, let me look at the checklist there too, Jennifer. Hold for a sec. Where the heck did I put that? Where's Google Classroom? Yeah, I don't know where it went. All right, we'll find it here in a second. Classroom. All right, hold on for 1 sec here. I might be just talking sideways here for 1 sec. There we go. And so let me just pop this open here for a sec. Rubric. Okay. So let's just look at the rubric for a second. So you have a outcome. So the outcome for, if you're going to sort of attach it to your lesson plan, then your outcome would be the same one that you have in your lesson plan, if it supports what you're talking about, right? Originality, user graphics, sequencing, subject, body of knowledge. So again, if your lesson's about greenhouse gases, you should, in your slideshow, I should see that you kind of know some stuff about greenhouse gases and climate change and things like that. That you use your speaker notes effectively, which means you're not putting all kinds of like bullet points and text on your slides. You've used the 10-20-30 rule. Assignment was handed in. Actually, that can come out. We're not going to use that. There we go. Okay, so I think that's good. Now let me just go back to, is there a checklist here? Yeah, right here under instructions. Let's just double check this. No PowerPoints or PDFs, right? We've done that. It must be a companion to your lesson plan. You teach an outcome from the grade. Yep, maximum 14 slides. References. So, okay, right. Okay, sorry, Jen. Now I understand what you're talking about. So at the end of your, let's say on the last slide of your slideshow, it's like references in an essay. Where did you get that picture from? Where did you get that information from? So just that kind of idea. It doesn't have to be an APA format, but it's a good place for you to go. Like, for instance, you might show a video in your slideshow. And if you show a video, then under your references page, you should have the URL there. Okay, that kind of idea. Okay. All right, next time slide, tips and tricks, complementary colors, all that jazz. And then there's the rubric. We'll just make sure it goes to the right place. Perfect, yeah. Okay, anybody else? Questions? Those are all great questions. Thanks, Jennifer. Okay, all right. If everybody seems to be good, I'll be good as well. I just got to turn my furnace off here. It's cooking in this room right now. Hold on 1 sec there, gang. There we go. Okay, so then with that all said and done, let's just scooch back up here. So everybody should have their lesson plan template checklist in there. Mira Joy, did you see my message that I sent you this morning in Google Classroom? If you didn't, check it out. And then if you've got questions, you can ask me. Okay. So everybody should have that is all marked and good to go, and everybody did a great job. And then, of course, don't forget to do these readings. There's going to be, we have a quiz that's not too far in the future coming up. So I haven't set a date yet for it. I wanted to get some of this other stuff done. But if you see here, here's what we're talking about today, AI and the lesson plans and stuff. And then we're going to do some stuff on HyperDocs. And then they'll give you the week's notice and say, hey, quiz 1's coming up. So we're not too far away. So make sure you're doing the readings, resources, all of that kind of stuff, because all that stuff's fair game on the quiz. Okay. And of course, it gives you the foundational and theoretical and stuff kind of knowledge that you need for a lot of the things that we're doing. Okay. Now, there is this video, this deepfakes video. Again, please make sure that you watch it. There are questions that are internal that pop up in the YouTube video. And again, I've used that purposefully under, you can't do it as a student and you can't do it in a regular Gmail account, but in an education account like we have as the teacher, you can create an assignment, attach a video. There we go. Paste in the URL, and then down here it'll say add questions or add video, and then you can add questions to the video. So so that's kind of neat that you can do that. Okay. All right. Let's write down just one little bit of notes here for now. There's more coming. I don't want to lull you into a sense of there's not notes coming, because there are. All right, so let's do this. So then artificial intelligence, let's define it, okay? And of course, I'm not going to put it, write down artificial intelligence every time. So I'll just use AI, right? Is the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, okay, comma, especially computers or computer systems. Let's put computer systems. Okay, period. Specific applications of AI, include expert systems, comma, natural language processing. And natural language processing is like when you use ChatGPT or one of those types of AIs. That's natural language processing, pardon me. Speech recognition, come back here. Speech recognition, and machine vision. Okay, period. That's our little definition there. Okay, so again, it's an attempt by machines to be kind of human, right? And act and think like human beings. And if you've watched the video already, you already know that all of these machines are already basically smarter than human beings anyways. So, and are, pardon me, and are only going to get smarter and smarter and smarter as we progress through all the different what's the word I'm looking for? Iterations of AI as it's developing. Okay. All right. So that's our definition. I've got a couple slideshows here to show you. I want to show you this one first. And this is called technologies that were supposed to change education or not. Okay. So we'll just go through the slides here. This just all a series of pictures again, basically, right? The printing press in the 1440s, the printing press was supposed to revolutionize everything. Does anybody know the name of the first printing press? What it was called? And for a bonus question, what was the first thing that got printed off the printing press? Who knows? All right, Carl, you're right. It is Gutenberg. That was called the Gutenberg printing press. And you're right. The very first thing that came off the printing press was a Bible. And why? Of course, back then, the church wanted everybody to have a Bible for obviously to reinforce Catholic religion, but also for reading and making people more literate. Because back in that day, not everybody could read, not everybody could write, right? So yes, first thing that came off the printing press was the Bible, interestingly enough. Okay, so of course, that's 1440s, and this is today's version of printing press, right? It's all automatic. The machine does all this stuff. I mean, there's stuff that, of course, that human beings have to input into the machine, but it's all done, automatically. Okay. So the blackboard, literally like the chalk and blackboard in 1801, game changer, going to change everything about education, right? And of course, we know it didn't. And of course, we have things like whiteboards now, and we have smart boards and that type of technology. And they were supposed to revolutionize education. And guess what? They didn't either. Okay. So photography was supposed to, in 1839, another big game changer. We can take pictures of things. This is going to change everything. Like that size of that camera, just like your little pocket camera, right? And of course, we've got this camera here. This camera, as is a pretty fancy one, retails, I think it was just about $3,000. So pretty fancy one. Okay. The telegraph, right? Like, right? Little Morse code dots and stuff like that. So that was supposed to revolutionize everything. Again, back in the 1800s, the 19th century. And of course, it didn't. And same thing with smartphones, right? Again, around $1,500, $2,000, going to be a game changer. Well, the only thing I think smartphones changed was the irritability of teachers and students using iPhones in class or smartphones in class, making teachers cranky, right? So we've got those. Believe it or not, the pencil, and not only just a pencil, folks, a pencil with an eraser was supposed to make or change education, right? And of course, we know it didn't. And in this day and age, there you go. That's your pencil, right? It doesn't have a graphite inside it. Of course, back in the day, there used to be lead inside, which of course we know lead's bad, right? And now we have this type of pencil. And when I'm doing my notes and writing on my little blackboard on my iPad, you can do everything with a pencil could do and 10 times more. And any of you that have an Apple Pencil and use it in notes apps or drawing app, you know how pretty amazing they are. So, all right, the typewriter. Oh, look at that beast, right? The typewriter is a game changer. And I think it did change a lot of things. I'm not sure in education, but certainly in business, it certainly did, but I don't think so much in education, right? So, and then of course we go from, that to laptops, right? Or tablets or other devices like that. And of course, the computing power in those devices is compared to that is absolutely mind-boggling. If you told somebody who was typing on this machine what, in the future, this is what you're going to be able to do with something called a laptop computer, they wouldn't even believe you probably. Okay. All right. Then the projector, and I didn't want to put all the projectors in there because there's all kinds, like there were slide projectors, there were film projectors, and of course there's movie projectors. And this was just a picture of a movie projector. And again, supposed to be a big game changer. And of course, now you go from whatever that kind of projector in this image to this little Kodak one that projects in full HD and fits in the palm of your hand and is less than $500. So super duper cool. And I think it can, I think if I recall, it can project up to an 80-inch screen as well. So like pretty amazing. Okay. So then we've got the radio. Wow. The radio. I don't even know how many people even listen to the radio anymore, but the radio was supposed to change everything, right? Because people could talk and they could deliver, instruction. And, nowadays we still have radio, and maybe we don't call it, I mean, we know that we have like the Z99 or whatever, FM or whatever, but we listen to podcasts, right? And podcasts are kind of like radio. But so back in the 20s, we had this setup that he's got there. And now we don't even have radio. Again, we use our smartphones, right? And we can listen to podcasts. I mean, we can listen to audiobooks. We can listen to all kinds of audio types of files or programs and things like that, right? TV, right, was supposed to change everything. Look at that. That's the first TV. Back in the 30s and 40s, that is what television, and again, most people didn't have this in their homes, right? And of course, nowadays, again, there is that is a, oh, hold on for a sec here. Let me pop out of there so I can remember. Right, that is Samsung's 292-inch TV, wall TV. It is, if you want one in your house, it'll only cost you $1.7 million. And of course, you know that at some point that's going to be $1,700 to get one of those, right? Price always in those kinds of things comes down, right? So anyways, ginormous, right? Computers. This is a computer called ENIAC. And if I just pop out of here for 1 second, and I just go to, you don't have to write this down. But it was an abbreviation, ENIAC, right? And that was the first computer. It filled an entire room, as you can see. And as you can see, and what it was first designed for was for plotting the trajectories of bombs. Of cannon fire out of a cannon, right, out of artillery. So, and of course, obviously, it ended up having other purposes as well. But that is what again, if you're sitting in front of a laptop, compare this picture to what a laptop can do, right, or a tablet, and with way, I can't even know how many ways I could add in there, way more computing power. Okay, so we've got that, right? This is the first internet. Now, this is just a diagram of where it went to different places like the University of Southern California, UCLA, where are some other ones that we might recognize? Where some other ones? Harvard, right? And this was the first internet where there were, here's one that goes to Hawaii, right? Different, well, I'll call them computers, kind of like going back to that. And they communicated one another. Again, this was called, and I'll just put it on the thing again because so that you can see, it was called ARPA, and this is all abbreviation, ARPA net, and it was developed, it was developed in the event of a Cold War. During the Cold War, and so that if all the surface telephone lines and communication systems were all annihilated by nuclear bombs, they had this sort of underground network that they could communicate between different universities and different places and that kind of stuff. So again, just a diagram, but I mean, compared to today's internet, there's absolutely no comparison. Okay, right? Personal computers. This was arguably the first computer. And if you're looking at it and going, where's the screen? That's a good question. So anyways, the first computer, again, thinking there's that compared to there's the Apple II, right? The computer that was supposed to revolutionize education. And after 10, 15 years, Apple even admitted that computers can't revolutionize education. They admitted it in a white paper. So pretty interesting. Here, this guy here is Tim. His name's Tim Berners-Lee. He's a very smart man that works in at CERN in Switzerland, splitting atoms and doing all kinds of things. And he is the guy who programmed the first World Wide Web. And if you look on that screen behind him, look at the monitor, the size of it, right? Those old big things, but also the first iteration of the World Wide Web did not have pictures. It was contained almost all just text. So compared to what this at the early stages of the 1990s, compared to what we have today, again, no comparison whatsoever. Okay. And again, his initial reasoning for creating the World Wide Web was innocent in the exchange of information and all kinds of friendly exchanges. And of course, we know that's not the case, right? I mean, 90% of people's days are trying to break into banks and bring down power grids and hack this and hack that, right? I mean, so again, somebody creates something that's supposed to do good in the world. And of course, the World Wide Web's done lots of good things, but also people figure out ways to do bad things with it. So interestingly enough, smart boards. There's our smart boards again in the 90s, early 2000s, even maybe most classrooms had a smart board. And again, in Alberta, I think almost every classroom in Alberta was given a smart board under a grant, I think from the government and in conjunction with the smart board people that make smart boards. And again, most people didn't use them. And if they used them as a glorified whiteboard or something else, maybe a glorified like TV to project a movie or something on it, right? And again, the reason that these types of technologies failed is because teachers weren't given proper training. Saw my first whiteboard in 2009. Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Yeah. And Emmeline, did your teacher use it in a dynamic way to change her teaching practice? And did you learn more? No, I know. And I think most people could say the same thing with teachers that had smart boards in their classroom, right? And now no classrooms, or very few, have smart boards in them anymore. They're probably all in a landfill somewhere, and everybody's got giant screen TVs, right? So, right, math. Yep, math was a good one because you could have people come up and work through a problem or whatever, right? But again, if that's all they're doing on a smart board is going up there and solving long division question, it's a glorified whiteboard. Is really all it is. So, anyhow, right, and then now and today they have smart boards. They have there's all kinds of, they're called interactive whiteboards if you want to kind of group them all together. And there's all kinds of different kinds. This current smart board here is worth, I think, close to $5,000. But one of the things that this smart board can do that one couldn't do, this old smart board could only have one person writing on it at a time. This smart board can have multiple people writing at a time. So you could have groups of students coming up and doing things together or whatever. So there's some better technologies. The thing that really sunk smart boards was they got greedy. And yes, they gave smart boards or subsidized the purchase of smart boards for schools across probably Canada, but definitely Alberta. But then once they got everybody hooked on it, their software that went with the smart board, and I thought it was really, really good software. Then they started charging crazy fees to license their software. And that's, I think, part of the reason also that smart boards kind of ended up not being in classrooms anymore is that most schools can't afford that expensive software, and it's like a yearly license, so they got to pay over and over and over and over again for it. And so I think what happened is schools said, we can't afford this, sorry. And then smart boards went extinct, basically, right? So, right. Also, cell phones. This is apparently the first smartphone. And if you look at the screen there, there's all kinds of interesting things going on. Really, the screen on the phone part of our cell phones, probably not too much different. Definitely not color and fancy, graphics and stuff like that we've got today. And I mean, look at the size of it. It's ginormous, right? But that was one of the first cell phones or smartphones with a screen attached to it, right? And of course, then we have these supercomputers that we have in our hand, and that we use every single day, right? So, we're all very aware of all the amazing things that they can do, right? So, right. So here is the first learning management system. And if you think LMS or learning management system, think Blackboard, think Google Classroom, or other ones that are like that. There's lots of other ones out there. This was the first learning management system. And basically what it did is it just tracked students answering questions by pressing buttons, basically. So anyways, a lot different than Blackboard or Google Classroom for sure, right? So there's a Google Classroom, right? Blackboard, right? Then we come to virtual reality. This is one of the very first virtual reality headsets. Any of you out there that have VR headsets are looking at that going, oh, that's crazy, right? Because nowadays we have Apple's just come out with their new headset. And if any of you are interested in buying one, they're only $3,500. So, but of course, Oculus and I can't remember the other name of the company that they sell them now for like $500-600. You can get a headset. So far right now, Apple just released the Apple Vision Pro or whatever I think it's called, and they're getting mixed reviews on whether it's good or bad. But I do think that if we can bring VR into the classroom at an affordable price, it could be a game changer. It totally could be. So, and I've said that for years and years and years. If you look back at my old lectures when I first started teaching this course back in 2003, I said that back then. I said that VR will be the game changer. So we'll see. Again, technology that are supposed to revolutionize education. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Okay. Well, there's Oculus's Rift. What do I have? I have this Oculus, I think. I don't know what kind it is, but it kind of looks like that, but it's different. So, and Oculus, if you're not familiar, is made by Meta or Facebook, those people. Okay. And then we're talking about generative AI, and we'll give some definitions about that later on. But we are talking AI that is far, far, far superior than what we have right now at the moment. So, and that kind of AI would be potentially a helper robot walk, around the house, helping you, I don't know, shovel snow or whatever you wanted to do. And you could talk to it like a person kind of idea. Okay. Of course, we have ChatGPT by the company called OpenAI. And of course, we have other ones like Magic School, Perplexity, Copilot on the Windows side. There's lots of AIs that are coming out. And of course, we've actually used AI or this version of AI for a really long time. Any of you that have said, hey, Google or hey, Siri, you've been using AI for a long, long time. Okay. A version of AI anyways. Okay. And so that's that slideshow. Any thoughts or questions? Oh, look at my Google saying, I didn't understand what you said. Anybody questions, thoughts? No? Okay. I'm going to show you one more slideshow. And this is just, since AI has sort of come out and I've started lecturing about it, I just started collecting like newspaper clippings, really kind of, it's like current events, right? But I think it's things that are really interesting that maybe one day we'll look back and go, wow, really? That's what AI was like back in 2024. So anyhow, just a bit of history here. Okay. So we're not going to watch. This is IBM's supercomputer called Watson. And to demonstrate how powerful and how smart it was, they had it playing against Jeopardy contestants. And this guy right here was Ken somebody or other, who was like, I think the all-time biggest moneymaker in Jeopardy. And it was really interesting to watch them compete against a supercomputer that was supposed to know everything. So I'll link both of these slideshows in Google Classroom after, but you might want to watch it. Just even watch the first couple of minutes of it and see the Watson, the AI on some questions totally kicked butt. The people could even click in fast enough to to answer. And then there's some things that the people clicked in first because, I don't know, it was struggling to figure out the answer or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, so interesting that, that we have AI on game shows, right? And then, of course, I like this one. A chatbot encouraged him to kill the queen. And then the headline, it's just the beginning, right? So, right, I don't know if you're aware, but there are AIs and bots of all kinds that are now, I'm going to tell you right now, and this is you might like be embarrassed, or you might go like, what? But the industry that is going to take off with AI based kind of robots, and where that will then people will buy and have in their lives, are going to be sex toys, like robots that perform sex. 100%. The pornography industry, whenever these new technologies come out, they always are on the leading edge of figuring out a way to use them and market them and use it in that industry. Good or bad, that's up to you, right? But yes, so, and then of course, I don't know if I've got that headline in here where people are marrying their AIs, right? Dearly beloved, we are gathered here to marry Brad and some chatbot on, online. So, but kind of crazy. So you can see people kind of do stupid things, right? Anyways, so interesting. Chatbot is encouraging, and they're not supposed to do that, but this one particularly encouraging the person on the other end to go and kill the queen. Interesting, right? All right. Right. Oh, here's one on marriage, right? So this is the AI, like, back there, and this is the girl who married the AI and fell in love with, I don't know, a robot. Not even a robot, really. An image of a robot, of what it might be, right? So weird, right? It's the best husband she's ever had. I don't know. I didn't read the whole article, but it didn't say how many husbands she's had in the past either. So anyhow, good luck to her, I guess. And then, of course, we've got this going on nowadays. This is an Amazon warehouse, and that is a human being working right alongside robots that then help fulfill your Amazon orders. And Amazon is another industry that has just taken off with robotics. So has the car making industry, and so has computer industry. Any of you that have an Apple computer either in front of you or in your life somewhere, the Apple computers are, from the time you order one to the time it's delivered to your house, certainly in the creating it, making your computer, no human hands touch it. It is all created and made by robots, robotic arms and robots. So yeah, there'll be a lot of things that occur, and these types of things will displace people. Right? So the people that will still have jobs in things like an Amazon warehouse are the people that, are the people that will tell the robots what to do and be able to fix them and that kind of stuff. So the job of you running around an Amazon warehouse trying to find, something that somebody's ordered, that day is over now, right? Maybe if the robot made a mistake, which I doubt they will, then a human might step in, but it's going to probably, the prediction is 50% of the workforce, not in just this type of industry, but in all industries, are going to be unemployed. Or if they don't get on the AI bandwagon and learn about AI and learn about robots and that kind of stuff, they will not have jobs. So again, good, bad, we got to sort of think along those lines. Right. This is a text message from my I have a Subaru, or no, sorry, Cal Tire. This one was from, but they're fixing my tire, and you can see what I thought was interesting is it's, my vehicle's ready to pick up. It's sent by a robot. Please don't reply. I thought that was kind of interesting. So they have AI that they just, click a button and it sends a person a text message. And I'm sure we've all encountered ones like this. Right. Now, hey, Austin, Texas. You can get a tattoo all done by a robot that does a tattooing for you, and there's no person that's actually poking the needles into your skin. It's a robot. Again, I don't know. What I would say is all of you go first, and then I want to see what your tattoos look like, right? And of course, we've seen this, I don't know, lots of sci-fi movies that I've watched. There's been robotic or types of tattooing. So this is just caught up with science fiction, right? Which usually becomes science fact at some point. right? So robotic tattooing, interesting. Okay, right here, ChatGPT knows too much, right? And so they can figure out personal details about you, like your race, your occupation, and your location, just by the words and the language that you use when you input prompts into their AI. It can figure out a lot of things about you. And this is one of the big things now that are controversial, especially with children. If some of these, so the newest one that any of you that are familiar with the Khan Academy, the Khan Academy now has their own AI version, kind of like ChatGPT. But one of the things that on that AI, it's not available in Canada right now. It's just brand new. Is you have to be 18 years or older. And I think the reason that is that it collects the data about the stuff that you type in. And if you are a minor and you're not an adult, in under certain laws in certain countries, that technology is not allowed to do that. So even if you don't give it your information, it can still figure out a lot about you, just by how you what the words and stuff that you type in. And obviously, if you think of a child typing versus you typing in there, it could probably immediately tell whether it's an adult or a child, right? So interesting stuff. So these it's like anything that you use online, like social media or that kind of stuff, is you got to be careful what information you're giving it, right? But like I said, these AIs are pretty smart now, and they can do a lot of figuring out of stuff, right? Here's an interesting National Post, right? Man crushed to death by a robot that took him for a box of vegetables. I don't know. I guess I don't know if you look like a box of vegetables. I don't know. Oh. So anyhow, interesting. So again, right, good bad is industrial accidents, they're bound to happen, right? The more robots that end up in the workplace, there's bound to be accidents, of course. Okay, right? This one, you don't have to read it or anything like that, but let's see, one of the things that you can do is you can, in some of the AIs, is you can just put a picture in and say, tell me about this picture. And then the stuff that you can read below there is telling you, oh, you've shared a screen image of a person and a dog enjoying a beautiful overlook of a forested canyon. That's me and my dog, by the way. And I specifically chose that picture so it wouldn't show my face. It's because I didn't want the AI capturing my face and, I don't know, doing something with it, right? Because if you watch the video that is your assignment, they talk about deep fakes. And there's just been a recent case in Ohio, in a high school in Ohio, where some kids were bullying another student, and they took her image and put that image in a bunch of pornography movies. So anyways, I don't know. There has not been a final anything on that. That's brand new again. And so you can see that, again, people figure out ways to use the technology for bad things, right? So what do we got here? So I thought this was interesting. AI, any of you that are like superhero fans or video gamers, this is AI and it said, okay, give me what a super villain would look like for each country in the world. And interestingly enough, let me just click this. I'm not going to show you them all, but if you're interested, I can show them to you after. Oh, I think we're right here. Just a sec here. Right there. Oh, shoot. Just a sec here. I wanted to show you the Canada one. Darn it. Okay, I'll just play the video from here. There's our super villain. I thought that was pretty cool. So anyways, just asked AI to do that, and it created these super villains. So I thought that was kind of a cool little YouTube video. And again, if you're interested in that, I'll put the whole slideshow in Google Classroom after we're done. So super villains, we did that. There we go. All right, awesome, right? ChatGPT is a real workhouse. Now we've even got more time for meetings. Yeah. anyways, so well, Yahoo, right? Here, BMW, right? South Carolina plant is testing humanoid robot workers. So there you go again. Not only robotic arms in the manufacturing process of cars, but now they're going to have two-legged robots that are going to probably put the cars together. And what is that going to do to that industry? Again, the people that will still have jobs in that industry are the people that will be able to maintain those robots, program those robots, clean those robots, that supervise the robots, that kind of idea. And all of the sort of other blue collared workers that are untrained and that just were trained to put the cars together will probably be out of jobs, right? So again, good, bad, or otherwise, that is a philosophical, existential question that you could debate for a long, long time. Okay. This one I thought was interesting. And this one, and I won't show the video again. Again, you could watch it yourself. But this one's all about how robots are taking over the food and restaurant industry as well. So instead of a person taking all of those avocados and mashing it up into guacamole or whatever, there's a machine that does all of that. And you basically just tell it what to do and it does it for you. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. Okay. So just another interesting video, right? And then this one, I'll just stop for a second, right? They're flipping burgers. This robot over here is making your deep fried, whatever. And again, AI robots in fast food is going to replace all those high school kids that worked at McDonald's and Dairy Queen or wherever else, because some robot's going to be able to do it. But again, the jobs will be for those people that know how to work these robots. And if you look in this picture right here with the deep fryer, there's all these, they almost look like QR codes. And those are little codes that then the robot with the camera reads these codes and kind of knows what to do. So, and it keeps track of all that stuff and all kind of interesting things. Okay. Right. Right. Your child's next playmate could be an AI toy powered by ChatGPT. So again, think of this, the social implications of this, right? A child grows up without a human friend and then all of a sudden has to go to school and interact with other children. And maybe they'll be able to bring their robot with them or maybe not. I don't know, right? But they're going to be able to interact with these AI powered robots or toys, and then they got to come to school and interact with real people. So it'll be interesting to see how that's all going to play out. I am never probably going to see that in my teaching career, but you all will definitely see this. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Right, this one again is just a video of this robot. Now he's a pretty fancy looking robot making a coffee, right? So again, I just thought that it was pretty interesting that they've got these robots now that, again, you'd say, hey, I don't know, whatever, name your robot, whatever you want to call it. Hey, Brad, go make me a cup of coffee. And off it trots off to the kitchen and makes you whatever you want to eat or drink or whatever. So I thought that'd be kind of interesting. So any of you any of you that are bartenders or baristas are probably going to be soon to be out of a job as well. So kind of interesting. Oh, is that my last one? Just check here. Is that as far as I got? Let's see. Oh no, I got a few more here. Oh, this one, this is really interesting. I don't know if I can give it to you. Just one sec here. So hopefully, again, if it doesn't play very well on your screen, because it's coming over, Wi-Fi or whatever, but the gist of this video is this girl, this lady in this red dress is on this soccer field, basically, if you can see it there. It's a soccer field. But watch what Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop can do now. And some of you maybe are familiar with this, but just bear with me. If it's sluggish on your end, again, you can watch this, but I just thought this was kind of mind-boggling. Is that not crazy? Right? So look at that. We went from a blank soccer field to this mountain castle scene with a lake and trees. That is just nuts. I thought that was pretty amazing. So again, think of art class, art teachers, and how you could use this in a classroom, or kids generating stories, and they could actually then create images with themselves in the images and write stories about, their family and things that are pertain to them. So I thought very interesting. And again, just by a text prompt, give me a castle on a whatever, and it put it right into the picture. I thought it's pretty amazing. Right. So AI in schools, right? We think about what are the implications here, right? So here is, again, you can watch this, but this is Saul Khan. He's the guy who created the Khan Academy. If any of you are familiar with it, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not familiar with the Khan Academy, I think you should be familiar with it, not only on a personal level where it can totally help you as well, but also how it can help either your students or your own kids or young people that are in your life with everything. And now they've integrated ChatGPT 4 into the Khan Academy, and it's amazing. And what it's like, the chat is like a tutor. And if you watch this video, what happens is that they've got an equation, and he's being the student. And what they're doing is he's saying, I don't know how to solve this problem. Can you give me a hint? How do I start? And so then the AI gives them a hint. Well, try this. And then they do that. And he goes, well, I still don't understand. And so they go, okay, try this next step. And then maybe he gets the next part of it wrong. And then the AI, like I said, is like his tutor saying, no, not quite. Remember, the next step in this problem is this. And then it just helps the student through the problem, like you would as a tutor or as a teacher or in that kind of a role. So pretty interesting addition to the Khan Academy. It's going to change everything again. Okay. All right. And then it's called Conmigo. And again, that's just, he gives a really quick little demo here of what the AI looks like. Again, this is brand new. It's not available in Canada yet, but it will be. So again, if you're not using it, any of you that have any math classes, that if you're not math oriented like me, this Conmigo could help you. And there's lots of other ones. Any of you have the app called Photomath? Anybody? Nobody's got Photomath, right? Photomath is an app on your phone, and you take a picture of the equation or the question, right, Kayla? And what it does is it gives you the answer. It shows you how to solve it, right? So, so again, that kind of technology, the AI technology, has been around for a long time here. Let me just go to the next slide. Right. So school will never be the same. So this is another very interesting video. It's all about AI doing kids' homework. Now what? It's called AI Can Do Your Homework Now What? And they talk about how, again, put yourself in teacher shoes, not the student shoes. How could you use this technology in the classroom to help your students? And how should you do it? So if you want to watch it, it's a very interesting video. It's there for your use or for however you want to check it out. Okay. And that might be it for that. Yeah, that's my last slide there. So that's as far as I've got with trying to keep up with the headlines and stuff in AI. Any thoughts? Any questions? No, cars and drive. Yeah, right. Emmeline, they've got self-driving cars, right? They have in the United States semi trucks, trailers that don't have people in them. They just drive their route down the highway and they deliver whatever they're delivering to where it goes. And there is no person in the vehicle at all. Right. So that technology is there now. It's also in agriculture. There are tractors and farm machinery that via GPS and all kinds of other smart things can plant your crops, can fertilize your crops, can spray it for weeds, all that kind of stuff. And even now, if you haven't seen it, just Google it, you'll be able to find it, is that they have a weeding thing for crops now that is not actually chemical based. It's all laser based. So it's got a whole series of cameras underneath it, and it can recognize what's a weed and what's not a weed, and it zaps it with a laser with heat, and it kills the weed, and it doesn't even use any harmful chemicals. So again, pretty interesting stuff. Okay, again, I'll put both of these slideshows in Google Classroom for you to take a look at. Anything else before I get started on some notes here? No, everybody's good? Okay. All right, then let me just turn my pen on here. There we go. Then let's switch over to this for now. And so we started off with our, somewhere here, we've got a definition of artificial intelligence. We've started off with that. And you know what? I can just probably erase all that. That's too slow. Let's take care. Oh. Well, maybe it won't. Well, you know what? Here's an even easier solution. Let's just start with a new page. Okay. All right. White. Perfect. Okay. So let me just scooch down my notes here a little bit. Okay. That. So when we think about AI, right? So, and think again from the teaching and learning aspect of using this technology, right? You know, it's, you know, using AI, it's about using AI as a tool to assist you and not as a tool, and not as a tool as a tool to cut a corner, right? And what we're talking about there is not using AI to go, write me a paper on Shakespeare, and then there you go, submit it, and there's my work. It's saying, okay, I'm not sure what to write about this paper. Here's what my instructor said. Here's the parameters of the assignment. It needs to be 5 pages, double spaced, blah, blah, blah. And you could ask one of these AIs for help in creating that. But again, if you checked out your lesson plan and you used AI to help create a lesson plan, you'll know that there are gaps there, right? And the other thing too that you know about AI, or you should know about AI, is that it makes stuff up, right? If it doesn't know, it just makes it up. So you still need to, just like when somebody says, oh, so-and-so, blah, 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 you need to fact check it, right? You need to go and find out whether it's true or not. So there are some things that it is still not very good at. And one of the things that it's not good at is it doesn't know everything yet, right? And again, if it doesn't know everything, it just BS's its way through it. Okay, so it's a tool to assist you or get you started or help you along the way somewhere, but it's not a way to substitute your thinking and your intellectual property and by copying somebody else's work, right? And we all know the rules around copying other people's work. Okay, so next little point here is that a common goal with AI, right, isn't about its usage today, right? But rather the focus on a student's apostrophe S preparation for tomorrow. Prep for tomorrow, right? If you listen to any futurist or anybody who is thinking about the next 5 years, 10 years, what's it going to be like 20 years from now, 50 years from now, all of those people, when they talk about education, all of them say is that we don't even know what jobs. Think of yourself right now, you're personally, yet your kids will need, like, what skills will they need? What about your grandchildren? What skills will they need, right? We don't even know. We have no idea. So when we teach students, I mean, yes, we got to teach them curriculum, we got to teach them facts and figures and things like that, but also we got to teach them problem solving and those types of thinking skills, right? We need to teach them persistence, resiliency, don't give up, right? If you make a mistake and it doesn't work, try again, right? With those are the skills that people want. And going back to that slide on a chat GBT version of a toy that children can interact with. I mean, people skills, interpersonal skills. Those are the kind of things that employers are looking for, because those are time, like you'll never need, you always need those skills for whatever job you're at, right? That whole idea, right? You may not need to know some facts and figures and stuff that we all hate learning about, but they're going to need skills that we have to teach them, because again, we don't know what the future holds for them or even for ourselves, right? Okay. So AI right now, at least in education, because because it's new, right? People are trying to figure out what the heck are we going to do with this, right? I mean, the headlines of all kids are going to do is cheat, and they're just going to use it to cheat. And they might, right? They might. But I think like any technology, if we train teachers, right? If we train teachers about AI and how to use AI in the classroom, then what you learn about AI here, you can take to the classroom with you and teach kids about the ethical use of artificial intelligence and all that kind of stuff. So AI in education is causing the same kind of panic, that internet search engines did in the 90s. Okay, so again, we saw that slide about the internet coming, in the 90s, right? And the same kind of hype and fears came then. Well, then all kids are gonna do is just Google their paper on Shakespeare and hand it in. Well, yep, some people do that, right? Most of those people get caught because it's super easy to catch somebody copying stuff from the internet. But the same thing again, we in that very first slide shows the same idea about the radio and about TV, and even and maybe some of you are familiar, but most of you are probably too young, like back in the day when they had paper-based encyclopedias, right? And they were like, wow, this, kids are just going to copy all this information word for word out of these books and hand them in when they're doing their book report on ancient Greece or whatever. Well, yeah, you know what? Kids probably did that as well, right? And did kids, copy ideas from TV or from radio or from some types of mediums? Of course they did. And are they going to use AI to hand in work that's not their own today? Of course they're going to, right? But again, it's all about teaching about the ethical use of these technologies. Right. So Kayla, you wrote in the chat there that somebody gave you something to read recently, and you, again, as the teacher, could tell who wrote it. And you know what? Once you're in the game long enough, you can tell, right? You know what a grade 5 student writes like, or you know what a grade 9 student writes like, or you know what a grade 10 student writes like, or 12, right? Or in my case, I know what year 1 education students write like, what they're like. And so again, picking up a paper or something and going, wow, this is really, really good. Or, it's just something it's not jiving quite correctly. It's pretty easy to tell. Okay. So with that, and I'm just going to write this down, right? Because you're going to probably hear this. AI is going to disrupt everything. Right? And just like all other new technologies did when they first came out, right? Is they caused this panic. people don't know what to do. Some people are fearful of it. Some people embrace it. But it's going to disrupt everything. It's going to make us start thinking differently about how we're going to use this tech, because it's not going to go away, right? That's the one thing we know for sure, is that tomorrow they're going to be, hey, you know what? AI wasn't so great. We're not going to use it anymore. That's not going to happen, right? So if it's not going to happen that it's going to go away, then how do we use it properly, right? For ourselves and for our students. Okay. All right. So then, right. So, AI should be your guide on the side, should be your guide on the side, right? And I mean, literally, like that new thing coming from the Khan Academy, Conmigo, right? It's okay, here's a problem to solve. Okay, well, here I'm gonna work on that problem. And then just think of it like as a teacher sitting right beside you as you're doing that and going, no, you know what, Brad, that's not quite right. Right? Remember this and this and this, and you got to do that step and then this step. Oh yeah, right. And then you do it, and then it's like, yeah, hey, way to go, you did it, right? And that AI is going to be that guide on the side. That's kind of coaching you. That's pushing you along in a positive way. And you know what? And here's the nice thing. It's never going to be impatient, and it's always going to have the time. So if you think about it that way, that, you have mom or dad or big brother or big sister or some human being helping you, and they're like, oh, come on, like, how many times do I have to show you how to do this, right? And AI is never going to tell you that. It will sit there and it'll help you over and over and over again, and it will never get mad because it had to show you how to do that thing 45 times. Right? So kind of a thing to think about when we think about AI, is that beneficial? I think it's really beneficial. Okay. So again, it's your guide on the side. It's like it's having a tutor whenever you need one, right? We could go right now and go, hey, ChatGPT, I don't know anything about polynomial equations. Can you give me some examples and blah, blah, blah. And it will, right? And so interesting. Right. And so another thing about AI that we need to think about is it allows students to access information and concepts. I'm going to put both those words, info and concepts. But there's a really important piece here. It allows students to access info and concepts at their grade level. Okay. And you can do that in your prompts with these AIs. As you can say, explain global warming to me as if I was a 9-year-old, and it will. Or it could say, explain global warming to me as if I was a 4th-year doctoral student, and it will. So for your students in the classes that you will teach, right, you can teach them those prompts and say, explain this concept like I was a 9-year-old or however a year old, right? So I think it's kind of neat. And so you can't really, so this is where one of the benefits between using a search engine on the internet versus using an AI is that the internet can't do that. You can't say in your internet search, explain to me polynomials or whatever as if I was 10 years old. You can't do that. So one of the neat things about AI is it can do that. You can sort of customize the explanation or the answer to wherever your level of understanding is. Okay. And it's tough. I mean, I shouldn't say you can't do that on the internet, but it's much, much more difficult to do that. Okay. Right. So, I mean, our goal as educators, is to teach, show, I don't know, I'll say show students how to use AI ethically. Right? So ethically, that's our kind of a goal. And I mean, that's really the goal of education, period, is to produce students who are ethical, who follow the rules, who follow the laws, who pay taxes, who get jobs, and all that's our goal, right? That's our goal as educators, is to create the next workforce, the next people that are going to create the next greatest amazing thing, right? That's the kind of kids we want to create, right? Right. Okay. Just sort of looking through paraphrasing my notes here. Right. So AI, I'm going to say needs to be used. Okay. Needs to be used within a classes. That's an apostrophe, by the way. Classes guidelines of appropriate use. Right? So just like in this class, when I'm saying I want you to go to ChatGPT or another AI like that, and I want you to type in grade 5 lesson on whatever using Hunter's methods, blah, blah, blah. And I want you to see what it comes up with. And yesterday, I think, and again, it's all about the prompts and giving it the right prompts or the right information so that it can, give you what you ask for. Yesterday, with the other section of this class that I did the lesson plan with, and we did an AI prompt, I think I'm just getting better at it. I think it gave me the best lesson plan on greenhouse gases of all of the 1302 classes that I teach. So again, it's just me getting better at it and then telling it more specifically what I want. But then it gave me pretty much, honestly, almost a teachable lesson plan. Okay. Still some stuff that needed to be massaged by the teacher, but it was pretty darn good. I was pretty impressed, actually. Okay. So about appropriate use, right? And again, and I'm going to put these purposely in capitals and maybe even underline it. Don't forget that AI hallucinates. There's a word you don't write very often, hallucinates, right? And I've already said that, is that it just makes stuff up if it doesn't know, right? It hallucinates all the time. Whoopsie. Oh, hold on. What did I do here? There we go. Hallucinates all the time. And again, remember that these AIs are programmed by human beings, right? There's somebody going click on a computer, writing the lines of code, right? So not only can it hallucinate if it doesn't know the answer all the time, and it is biased. And I'm going to add this word in here, consistently. And I'm going to underline that, right? Because again, the biases of the programmer can come into how those AIs answer your questions, or how they write a story for you, or how they give you some information. They can be biased in not good ways, right? So again, I'm just going to write some other words. I mean, sometimes they just give you unexpected, answers. It's kind of one of those I didn't see that coming kind of answers, right? Unexpected answers, or weird. Is that how you spell weird? Yeah, weird answers. But again, I think that is partially on us, is that we didn't give it enough information to maybe come up with a good answer, right? And again, like I said, it hallucinates, and so that means it fabricates answers as well. So again, you need to fact check. So along with that, there is a new to me at least anyways, a new acronym that we can use. So knowing that it does all of those things, it hallucinates, it fabricates, it comes up with weird, unexpected answers, all that jazz. Then what we can do, or we can teach our students, is to apply. Hold on for 1 second. That's a really bad E. Every. Okay, and this is an acronym, and I'll give you the whole deal here in a sec. Okay, every, which means evaluate, right? And the same thing applies when we do internet searches and we're looking for information, right? Evaluate, verify, right? Edit, right? Because when you verify, there may be changes that you need to make, right? Edit, and then of course, editing leads to revise, right? And the Y is you. And how does it apply to you? You know, where are you in this whole thing as well? And I will, there's actually a checklist. Let me see if I can bring it up here. Just one sec here. Right. I'll just, yeah, hold on for one sec. I'll just bring it over here. One sec. There we go. And I'll make it bigger, and I'll share this with you too if you want. Right. So if you were thinking about, you know, giving a students an assignment and they're allowed to use AI, here's a checklist that they could fill out and hand in with their assignment, right? And so then you kind of know all the steps that they did along the way, like, you know, right? I mean, peer reviewed, it's back, there's a, you have a backup plan in case the tools don't give you what you want. Was it inclusive? You know, was it biased? You know, was it fair, right? Did it cite, or did you cite it properly using APA, actually APA 7th format, right? So there's lots of good things that make students accountable, make you too, right, as using AI, accountable for work that you submit for marks, right? So anyways, so people have already started thinking about this and thinking about how do we make sure that kids are, again, using this ethically, right? So I'm just going to make a new page here, and I'll give you all of this stuff in Google Classroom. But so let's then think about real world examples. So let's, what time is it here? Oh, we'll go for a few more minutes, and then we'll have a break. Real world examples. Hey Siri, set a timer for 13 minutes.
13 minutes starting now.
All right, real world examples. Okay, so right, first one I just used, virtual assistants. Virtual assistants, right? And we've all used, you know, Siri, Alexa, and Google, right? We've all used those assistants, and we all know that they're kind of dumb. Sometimes they give you, you ask, and again, maybe it's the way you talk, or maybe it didn't hear you properly or whatever, but sometimes they give you just like something you didn't even ask for. It's like, duh, right? So, so we know that there's those virtual assistants, and they can perform certain tasks, right? They can turn your furnace on, they can turn your lights on, they can, and there's apps now that turn your car on or lock your car, you know, start your car, like all kinds of different things that these virtual assistants can help us with these days. So we're familiar with those. So I'm going to number these, but there is no order of importance or whatever along the way here. So number 2 is recommendation systems. Recommendation systems, right? That sounds pretty fancy, doesn't it? But it's really something we use every day, right? So if you have Netflix, you've done that, right? Amazon Prime, right? You have Crave, you know, YouTube, right? All of those types of services use, right, algorithms. I think that's how you spell it, right? And to analyze your preferences. So as soon as you start watching, I don't know, like science fiction movies, then it gives you recommendation. Hey, you might like these movies as well, right? So same thing goes with, you know, Spotify, right? Apple Music, right? And all the, you know, whatever services you use. I'll tell you a little commercial plug. I have YouTube Premium and I pay monthly for it. If I had to give up, if they said you could only have one service like Amazon or Netflix or YouTube or whatever, and you have to give up all the other ones that you have, what one would you keep? I would keep YouTube Premium. It is, I think, by far the best thing. You can watch movies, you get music, there's all kinds of different things that you get, and no commercials, right? And so I don't know, do you have, was it Prime? Is it Prime? Yesterday, right? They're going to start having commercials. And if you don't want commercials, now you got to pay $2.99 extra a month not to have commercials. I can tell you right now, there were a few choice swear words that came out of my mouth yesterday. So anyways, we know these recommendation systems, right? That they track your preferences and then they give you information that you want, right? And the same thing, folks, if you're not aware, happens on social media, right? Let's use COVID as an example. Whether you were kind of for COVID in vaccinations or you were against it, it doesn't matter, right? But if you started looking up why should we be vaccinated against COVID, you're going to start getting more and more articles or more things about that topic. And then conversely, if you're an anti-vaxxer or, the COVID was just a big bunch of baloney and whatever the reason that the governments of the world wanted to do this, and you were against it, you're going to start getting those articles, right? So it is very biased, but it's biased towards your own biases, right? So if you, like I said, if you start looking up certain things, you start getting more and more of that stuff. And that's dangerous where you're only getting one side of the story. And again, think of yourself, but also think about the kids that you're teaching. You need to, right? That's that whole two sides of every story. And you need to fact check and use the every system, right? To make sure that you are getting the whole picture and not just the opinions or of one group versus another group, right? So very, very important stuff. All right, number 3. And we already talked about these, autonomous vehicles, right? No, there's another word we don't spell very often, autonomous vehicles, right? Self-driving vehicles, right? And I think if you've followed any of the news or whatever about these, it's kind of mixed reviews. Sometimes these sort of seem to work and sometimes they don't. And anyways, they have the ability to drive your car and you don't have to do anything, right? My wife's Kia, she's got I don't know, it's loaded, it's got every option in the world, but she's got that lane assist, right? Where it can tell whether you're between the two lines. And if you're drifting one way or the other, maybe some of you have this in your vehicles, it corrects you and puts you back in the middle of the road kind of idea. I hate it, but she loves it. So, yeah. So Netflix, $5 extra. Yeah, I agree. Anyway, Jennifer, YouTube Premium, yes. Okay, so anyhow, autonomous vehicles, right? Really, honestly, you think it's kind of miraculous, really, kind of like the car can drive itself, right? Okay, number 4, fraud detection. Fraud detection. Right? So with this one, what we're talking about here is analyzing. I didn't put anything for autonomous vehicles. I think we all kind of get that idea. Analyzing large amounts of data, large amounts of data, oopsie, data, and identifying patterns to detect fraud, right? If you have ever got a phone call or a message from your bank saying, hey, there are charges that are happening in Hawaii right now, and we don't know if you're in Hawaii, so we are going to put a hold on your credit card until you call us and tell us that, yeah, I actually am in Hawaii. Sorry, I should have maybe called and told you that, right? I think we've all probably had that there's been kind of what the credit card company or the bank has thought is sort of funky charges on your card or withdrawals from your account. And then they put a freeze on that until they get confirmation from you, right? So fraud detection. So that happens every day in our lives via AI, okay? Now, this is one that I think that AI is going to really be able to help. And if you watch that video about AI, you could see some of this diagnosis, right? Right now, AI is better at detecting different types of cancers and different kinds of health problems from x-rays or health care imaging than people are. And so it's already better. It can identify and diagnose better than actually the doctors. So, and they've trained it to do that, which is awesome, right? I mean, if a human doctor misses, I don't know, some cancerous tumor, but the AI goes, hey, if you look at that right in that spot, that is the beginning of, whatever problem that is, right? So healthcare diagnosis sort of, again, in medical imaging, right? So, and again, you can even think back to the AI tattoo thing, right? I mean, it's sort of the same idea. It's taking, here's a picture, you want it on your bicep or your shoulder, and it knows what to do, right? So it's pretty smart that way. So not only medical imaging, but also in disease diagnosing, right? Knowing that within these certain parameters, it can detect or diagnose some types of diseases. And we'll leave it at that one for that one. Okay. Number 6 is, and we've sort of already talked about that, is smart home devices, right? We already know that, smart home devices, right? And so things like your thermostat, right? Stuff like security cameras, right? Right. And I'm not going to add like everything they possibly, right? But lighting, right? They have refrigerators now that know that, hey, you're out of milk, and it'll automatically order milk for you in your next grocery order kind of idea. So, I mean, all of our home devices are getting smarter and smarter, right? Even my washing machine and dryer downstairs can detect how much clothes are in there, how much soap needs to be put in. Same thing with the dryer, right? It knows that, okay, here are these clothes, and it knows how to dry them and based on how much stuff that's in there and all that kind of stuff, right? So smart home devices are great. The only thing that I would be careful with, just as a person, is like door locks, right? Is that that any of this stuff is hackable, right? It's on your network, it's hackable. You just got to be careful, right? So, and like I have a Nest thermostat. It knows it learns from the patterns of when you turn the furnace on and when it's off, right? And then it starts knowing when to turn it on for you, your preferences, right? So all of these devices, same idea. Security cams, if you've got one, most of you know that you can access your security cam from school right now and look at outside or inside your house. So smart home devices, right? This one I have mixed feelings about, but we got customer service, chatbots, right? And nowadays, when you have a problem with a product or you need an answer, you can use the chat and get the solution. And it's kind of good. Sometimes I just want to talk to a person and just like help me talk to me. And sometimes maybe I'm not in such a talkative mood and I love just typing a text and they can solve my problem. So I'm sure we've all used these types of chatbots where you've needed help or support, and they give you that support. Okay. Number 8 is in K-12, or is K-12 education. And again, like I said, these are in no particular order, right? And so we sort of talked a little bit about how this can help us. And so I'm going to write a couple things down first. So personalized learning, right? So, right, I mean, this is our goal in education, is to give every child personally what they need to be successful. And I think we all know from our own experience in K-12 is that is, as a human being, that is pretty much impossible, right? I can't give 32, 36 students what they need, right? Or you think about it like my wife. there are times in the day where she has 32 grade ones in her classroom. Like, how can she possibly give the kids that need extra help with reading or writing or whatever it is that grade ones really need to be able to do well? How can she do that with 32 grade ones in the classroom? She can't. But if we had something like Conamigo, or we actually had a physical robot in the class that we could say, hey, Brad, go over and ask the robot and it will help you with whatever you need, right? So that's just Siri telling me our time's up here. But I just want to add there's only two more things or a couple more things, and we'll add a break. Okay, so personalized learning. So again, based on every student's abilities and where they're at with that concept, we could use AI. And I'm not saying physical robots with arms and legs, but we could do that too. But we could definitely use AI to say, help me write this story, help me solve this math problem. I don't understand how to do this. Can you help me? And it will. Right? And that frees you up to do the things that really you as a teacher should be able to do, right? So the personalized learning piece is on there. I got to go to a new page because I'm running out of room here, but so I'll just write down, I'll just write down number 8 again here. Okay. This one, what about grading, right? This one I haven't seen yet, but grading automation. So I guess we do see it, right? I mean, in the respect that when you write a Google Forms quiz and you go multiple choice, you go click, 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 A, B, C, whatever, D, and then you go submit, boom, you have your answer immediately. That is grading automation, right? That is a type of grading automation. What I'm thinking more of is you write me an essay on AI. Could I put it into an AI service or some type of thing and say, give Carl what, based on this criteria, here's my rubric or here's my checklist. Based on this criteria, how did Carl do? Right? I don't know how. Yeah, that one I've got a little bit of sort of ethical issues with, but it's a possibility, right? I think it's within the scope or realm of possibility of what this technology can actually do for us. Okay, so we got grading automation and just two more. Tutoring system. So that kind of goes along with personalized learning. This is just part of number 8, tutoring systems, right? Like, and I'll write this down, like the one that's coming out right now, Conmigo, right? But even any of you that have used Grammarly, right? And you've put your paper in there and said, hey, can you please check this paper for punctuation, spelling, and grammar? And I mean, you can do that right in Google Docs or in Microsoft Word. You can, do a spell check or a grammar check and it'll give you suggestions. That's all kind of AI kind of related stuff. Okay. And then so the last one of this under the K-12 topic was administrative tasks. Administrative tasks. Right. And so things like scheduling, right? And things like, I'll say resource sharing, okay? Right, and if you think about scheduling, for you as a student and for me as an instructor at RDP, there is a computer system that they use and they say, okay, here is all of these different parameters of students and instructors, and they all need rooms and they all need times to teach. Push the button and boom, the magic happens, and it's usually does a pretty good job. Okay, so but administrative tasks for sure. Let's take a break, and when we come back, I want just to show you Magic School for a second and how that AI system, again, based on the ChatGPT model, is super powerful and can really help us as teachers. Okay, so it is 10:34. Let's come back at 10:45. So just a shorter break, sorry, 10 minutes. And then we'll continue on from there. And then, of course, like always, I'm going to turn my camera and mic off. And if you have any questions, write them down and then we can talk about them when we get back. Okay, thanks, everybody. We'll see you in 10 minutes. Let's take a look at Magic School. I'll put the link for it in the chat if you want to follow along that way. just going to bring mine onto the main screen here. So as soon as I already have an account, but as soon as I logged in, it asked me to help customize based on my needs. Now you don't have to put any of those in there if you don't want to, but I could opt out. But I think this information's fair because then I think it can help, get me better answers or things to what I want. So I'm just going to save that. But what I want you to show you all of the tools that are here. Now, some of these are free, and now I think they're starting to charge some of it. And even this here, Magic Student, is brand new. So every week there seems to be more stuff that this can do. What I like about this AI service is that it's made by teachers for teachers. So, and if you look at it, it's like, give me a lesson plan. I need a rubric. How about a unit plan, right? How about give me some questions for YouTube videos? Now I favorited all of these with these little stars, right? My wife uses this one every day. Jokes, right? So you click that one. What level? First grade. Joke about, how about polar bears, right? And then you generate, and they're really super corny, right? But why do polar bears, why don't they ever get thirsty? Because they drink ice water, haha, right? Dancing polar bears. How do polar bears dance? They do the berry hop. Like, anyways, grade ones think it's hilarious and all that kind of stuff. But so there's all kinds of stuff here. A choice board, right? I don't know what to do. Well, you could create choices for students to do for this next assignment, this next project, right? A group work generator, a proofreader for text, whether you're sending a newsletter home or it's something that your students submitted, right? Observations, right? I got to observe my students and I have to make comments for report cards, right? A YouTube video summarizer. Here's the YouTube video that's 50 minutes long. What's the summary, right? And you can see that there's all kind of text rewriter, right? So here's what I wrote. Can you make it better? Boom, it can make it better or give you suggestions. Rubric, an IEP or an IPP. If you ever have to write ones for kids, it certainly could potentially help. There's another one there for comments that math story, word problems, email a family, right? A Jeopardy review game. There's all vocabulary list generator, right? Greenhouse gases. What's the vocabulary I need? And remember, on your lesson plan template, that's input, right? So there's so many different things in here now that there is, the quote of the day, icebreakers. Here's a class newsletter. Generate a newsletter to send home to families every week. That kind of stuff. So a thank you note to a parent or volunteers. And you can see there's just so many different things here that it's offering you now. So it is a great tool, I think. And of course, looking across the top here, do you want things that are just specific to planning or questions or student support or, right? And like I said, every week they add more. I was going to click upgrade here. That's not too bad. $8.33 a month. That's not too bad. And yeah, you get quite a few features for that. So anyways, that's not too bad. I mean, it's $100 a year. If you think about it, either your school would pay for this or you might pay for it out of your own pocket. You spend a hell of a lot more money on coffee and drinks and all kinds of other things than this. So again, this, I think, for $8 a month is pretty much a good deal. I'm on the free plan because I'm not quite doing that yet. So anyways, thoughts, questions? What do you think about Magic School? You think that might be something you might use? Give me a thumbs up or an emoji or... Right. And, Jennifer, just 1 second. Just one of the other things that I want to show you is, it's kind of hard to see. Let me just bring up a Google Doc for 1 second here. Here, I'll just. Anyways, that's okay. Doesn't matter. See, you can also, if you use Google Chrome browser, you can get the Magic School extension, and then down here it's got the little Magic School M, and you can actually ask questions right without even going to the website. And then it also gives you, a list of all the different tools that you're like, well, I want to give me an idea for a sentence starter for a story, right? And then it will. So it's kind of a handy little add-on that makes that you don't have to go to the website all the time. And then the other one that I do, and I'll just go here to a blank googly page. Just one sec. I've got in here somewhere. I've got the add-on for what is called Perplexity, which is just another AI. And then I've got this one called Search GPT for Chrome. And that one, let me just say what are greenhouse gases? And I'm going to put a question mark on that. And when you do that, what that Search GPT does is it brings up web-based answers or places that you can go. And eventually, somewhere along here, is it will give you a ChatGPT answer as well. So you can kind of do both side by side. Again, if you were doing a research paper or you're writing an essay or something or a story, you could get results from not only web-based, but you can also get ChatGPT based. I don't know. It's obviously it doesn't want to work right now for whatever weird reason, but that's okay. It's a really cool. Yeah. So yeah, Magic School. I think there's definitely some options, right, that you could use, and I use a combination of all of them. Right? Is that because even if you just use one service, if I were to type in, give me some information about greenhouse gases, each time you type it in, it could potentially give you different stuff as well. So sometimes I like to use ChatGPT and then use Perplexity or use Magic School. There's another one that I have here called Iris AI. There's another one called Tome, T-O-M-E, and that one will create a slideshow for you. So you give it the topic and give it the prompts, and it will actually create the entire slideshow for you. So it's kind of neat as well. All right. Any thoughts or questions before we start talking about types of AI? Because this ChatGPT is only a very less smart version of AI than what exists and where we're going. But are there any questions? No, everybody's good. Okay. All right. So the first type of AI that I want to talk about is narrow AI, and I borrowed this from the web, and it's going to do some kind of metaphorical kind of comparisons to help you make it easier to understand. So narrow AI is like a superhero with a special power. Okay, but with a special power, but only, let's see, one power, I guess, put on the other one power. Okay, so it's good at doing it. It's good at doing one specific task. Okay, and that might be flipping burgers or dunking fries into the deep fryer or something like that. But it's good at doing one task. So some examples are, there are AI things out there that are play games, and I'll just use chess as an example. Playing chess, recognizing faces. Okay, and again, our Siri, Alexa, Google, right? Hey, Google kind of thing, right? And all of those ones that we've already talked about. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Okay. All right. Next one is general AI. Okay. So again, I'll number these. I don't know if I numbered the last one, but yeah, I did. And again, these are in a like kind of a specific order. We're going to get smarter as we go down here as the numbers get bigger. So we've got general AI. Okay. And I'm just going to put in brackets here, strong AI. Okay. And it is like having a robot friend who can do almost everything a human can do. So this type of AI is super smart, right? It can learn new things, where narrow AI, like again, using the burger flipping example, it does one thing. It's not going to learn how to flip burgers better or whatever. It just does one thing, and that's all it does. Where with general AI, it's kind of literally is next level, right? It can learn new things. It can solve puzzles, right? Again, more than, welding on a car door on a car, right? It can understand language. And I say language, but really languages, right, would be probably the better word. It can converse, right? So you can actually have a conversation with it. And if you watched the video from Google Classroom, there was a robot in there called Amica, and you could actually have a conversation with her. Okay, so you can converse with it. And it can do a lot of other things. I don't think we need to write everything down here that it can do. So you can think here that it could do a lot. That there's more on the list that I could write down that it can do. But here's the but is we aren't quite here yet. Okay. I don't think we're too far out. I think probably within personally about the next 5 years that this will be something that you have in your house, like another appliance, right? Okay, so we aren't quite here at this general AI, this strong AI level yet. Okay, let's do a number 3 here. Oopsie. Come on, number 3. There we go. Is artificial super intelligence. Okay, this is where we need to start getting worried. Intelligence, right? Now, if we go back to our superhero kind of analogy or metaphor, is like a superhero with all, and I'm just going to circle that, all superpowers you can imagine. So like taking all the X-Men, and combining them all into one person and more, right? So it's all of the superpowers you can imagine and more. Okay. Obviously, if it's called a super intelligence, it is super smart. Okay. It can do everything humans can do, but better. Okay. It can solve, which word do I want to use? I'm going to say really complex problems, that, and I'll just you don't have to write this down, but that potentially humans could not make or solve. It can invent things, right? Just like, human beings invent things, it can invent things, right? It could help potentially, again, cure disease, protect the environment, right? And much, much more. Now, question. If you were a super artificial intelligence AI and you wanted to protect the planet so that all of the things that are predicted, bad things that are going to happen to this planet that may occur in the next 5 to 10, 15, 20 years, how would you protect the planet? What will be the easiest way to do that? Are you too chicken to answer? Global warming, yes, but how is this artificial superintelligence going to solve global warming or fix it? You may not like the answer. There you go. Emily, you're just way too nice. Carl's right on the money. Eliminate people, because who's causing the problem, right? Human beings, right? You think that we've got written down there cure disease, right? If you're going to cure disease, the AI will figure out a way to get rid of the virus. Well, guess what? We are to this planet. We are basically like a virus, right? Everything we touch, we wreck and destroy. So that's where it starts to get scary, is an artificial super intelligence thinking that way. Well, in order to save this planet from destruction, there's one very quick way to do it. Is right. We're right here. We said invent things, right? Well, let's invent a disease or a virus that will kill all human beings, and we'll just spread it around the world, and boom, planet saved, right? I know that's like doom and gloom, but I mean, think of it. It's within the realm of possibility, and certainly people that are way, 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 way smarter than me are thinking along the same lines. Is that we need to slow down a little bit and not get to this artificial super intelligence level too fast, right? And what's that going to look like, right? I mean, and I've read this in science fiction magazines, even creating a disease or a virus that targets only an ethnic group. So I'll use Asians as an example, is that the United States government against China could have an AI that could create a virus or a disease that would only kill Asian Chinese people with certain genetic pattern or whatever, right? And vice versa. I mean, any government could do that to the United States or to Canada, or just kill white people, right? I mean, it could totally do that. So, and I read that in a science fiction book, but which was quite interesting, but same idea. So we've got this artificial superintelligence that could basically do anything it wants, right? Create anything it wants, invent anything it wants. Okay, so these are kind of scary things, and we're getting close here to the end of these notes. But so I think, well, again, before we get to this artificial superintelligence thing, is we have a lot of homework as a human race, as a planet, to do before we unleash these AIs that can, at some point, aren't even going to need human beings anymore to program them, because they'll just write their own software, right? So here, what we need to do is we need to think about some ethical challenges and considerations. And when we talk about AI, if we talk back post World War II, in the late 40s, early 50s, 60s, even, really even in today, but right after World War II, when we had Russia and the United States trying to be the superpower, what was the term that we called that? What was that? That was something war. What? Nobody wants to answer my question? Nobody knows world history? Thank you, Carl. It's the Cold War, right? And what was the Cold War? It was between Russia, at that time, between Russia and the United States, And what they were doing is building up their nuclear arsenals, right? And the way that works is this way. The United States has 1,000 bombs, so we need 1,000 bombs. And now they have 1,500 bombs, and now we need to have 1,500 bombs. And, trying to keep that balancing act so that one country or one superpower doesn't have an advantage over the other. Well, the new Cold War of 2024 or of the 21st century is going to be AI, right? So if you got to know that every major government in the world is developing AI that could like attack another country and bring down their power grid or poison the water systems or whatever. Again, doom and gloom stuff, but it is what it is. It's the new AI is the new Cold War of our generation, right? Is that that the United States is building super AIs or trying to build it, and so are the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians and the Koreans and all these different countries are trying to build and get the advantage over another country. Right. So, Emily, you did say in the chat that these robots or these super AIs need emotion. Yeah. I mean, that would be a big win, obviously, right? Especially when you talk about like the personalized kind of AIs or robots where they have some emotion. Now, that may be good or it may be bad, because if they have emotion, they're going to have emotions like us, like anger, jealousy, things like that. And I don't know, if in a super artificial intelligence, I'm not sure that might be a good thing. But anyways, it's all right. It's all stuff we have to think about, these considerations, right? So again, in no particular order for these ones, but the first one is we need to think about privacy, right? And not only your privacy as an adult, but also the privacy of our students, right? So like any social media or any, internet service, AI collects and analyzes vast amounts of personal data. Okay, and we know that when we use social media or we use a service like a Google search engine or whatever, they're collecting data. Every single thing we put into those systems, they collect our data, right? And then that data they sell to the highest bidder, and people that want it pay for it, right? And then that's how they market and do all kinds of things, right? So I mean, it obviously then AI is going to be even smarter than that, right? So then again, it raises the question of how do we strike a balance between using these types of services but still having some privacy in our lives, right? So with these, we need to talk about or think about some kind of balance between privacy, I don't know, and I'll say and I'm just going to say and as usage, right? And again, that's the same thing with all the different systems we use. Everybody's collecting information about you. It doesn't matter, right? And they know so much more about you than you even can imagine. They know pretty much everything, right? Down to based on your lifestyle choices, etc. Even predicting when you're going to die, right? I mean, it's kind of scary stuff. All right, so we've already talked about bias and fairness, right? So again, we know that they can inherit the programmer's biases, the programmer's bias, right? And that might be an unintentional. But again, if you think of that Cold War idea, those biases could be built into different kinds of AI and used to attack or to do something nefarious against a group of people, against a country, against a power grid, or something like that, and build in these biases. So I mean, and intentional and unintentional, right? So if there is these biases, I don't have enough room here, I'll just move it over here, is that then we can, then what we have is discriminatory discriminatory outcomes, right? So if it's biased in whatever way, whatever answer it gives you, whatever help it gives you, can be discriminatory. Okay. And then of course that then has all kinds of social inequalities and social considerations that we need to think about in those types of AIs. Okay. Number 3 is transparency and explainability. So if we go transparency and explainability, there's an interesting word, explain ability. Okay, so just scooch down here a little bit of my notes, right? So many AI systems are built, and I'm kind of using an analogy here that hopefully we'll all understand here. AI systems are built like black boxes, like, I'm going to put this in quotation marks, black boxes. And then that means what the ramification of that is that they are not easily understandable. Easily understand. Oops, I ran out of room. Okay. And so because they're not easily understandable, maybe we should actually add this, sorry, by humans. Okay. Okay. By other AI systems or computer systems, potentially yes, right? But if you think about a black box, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, right, on airplanes, they have literally a box that records all of the data on the plane, all the conversations, all the telemetry, everything that's going on that plane. There's a black box, okay, and it records it. So in the event of a plane crash, they can retrieve the black box, which are fairly indestructible. I'm not saying completely indestructible, but they can survive a plane crash. And then the people after the fact can figure out what the heck went wrong, right? And so they have these black boxes on airplanes, but I want you to know this. There are also black boxes in your car, in modern cars, right? That in the event that you were involved in a horrific car crash, potentially killed, or maybe you kill someone else, God forbid, right? There's a black box in there that can tell the police or the investigators everything that you were doing in that car. How fast you're going, whether you braked before the crash, the inertia, like were you going around a corner too fast. It can tell there's a whole bunch of data that it collects from your car that then can tell investigators whether you were being negligent or not. Okay, so these black boxes are important. And again, with AI, then whatever data is coming from that AI, we need to be able to look at it as human beings and go, okay, I understand that, right? So we need to make sure that the AI systems that we're using in our classes and with our kids, and again, for ourselves, is easily understandable, and there is no hidden kind of stuff in there. Okay. Number 4 is accountability and responsibility. Accountability and responsibility. Responsibility. Okay. So then, right, who is responsible? Responsible. Well, you're gonna have to just take my word that's responsible in there. Okay. So you think of it this way. You're the person, Sam Altman is the guy who came out with OpenAI and ChatGPT. And is he going to be accountable then somewhere down the road where an AI, let's say, kills a human being? Is he accountable for that? Right? So who is responsible for the actions of the AI, right? Who is responsible for the actions of the AI, right? If a student asked an AI or an AI robot friend and saying, Carl's bullying me and what should I do? And then the robot says, well, you should kill him. Or, you know what, better than that, if you just tell me where he lives, I'll go over there and the robot will kill him for you, right? Then who's responsible for that? Is it the kid who told the robot to do that action? Is it the programmer? Is it like who is ultimately responsible? Good question, right? It's a super complex issue, right? So we all need to be accountable for this. And again, if we think about ourselves in the classroom with kids, and you're saying, okay, kids, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, people, right? I'd like you to use ChatGPT to do this assignment or this project or answer this question. You're responsible for letting them on there, knowing that it can be biased, it can be cruel, it can be given misinformation. We know all these things about AI, the negative things about AI, and you then are accountable for allowing students to use that. But don't let that frighten you. It's no different than letting kids search for stuff on the internet, right? If you typed in, I don't know, gun violence, and they came up with some crazy website or something inappropriate, you're accountable for that too, right? So fair or unfair, I'm not sure, right? I mean, I guess we can make an argument for both sides, whether it's fair that you are ultimately accountable for everything that goes on in your school. But I mean, we can even take that to the next level. That's you in the classroom. Your administrators are responsible for everything that goes on in that school. Every decision you make and your colleagues make, the janitor makes, whoever, the secretary, whoever, they are responsible for the actions of everybody in that school. So, I mean, there's a lot of faith going on that either the AI system or the internet or people aren't going to be irresponsible and do bad things, right? And that everybody's accountable for their actions. So anyways, this accountability and responsibility is probably one of the number one things as an educator that we have to consider in absolutely everything we do, right? I mean, this afternoon, my wife is going skating with her kids, her grade ones. Well, if a child gets hurt on that rink, she is responsible and accountable for why that child got hurt, right? So it's built into everything we do because we're trusted with other people's kids, right? So anyways, number 5, we've already talked about, and that's job displacement, right? That is people losing their jobs to AIs, to robots, to that type of stuff, right? So, through automation, right? If I can just go to McDonald's now and touch the little screen and go, give me a Big Mac, fries, and a drink, and there's some robot in the back that can do that, again, those people that used to do that are out of a job, right? And that goes with in any industry that you can think of. We've talked about car industry, we've talked about computers, we've talked about Amazon, right? Where there are certain people that will be out of work, but those people then will need to be retrained to work within the new system, right? And I mean, that goes on forever, right? We've automated processes along the way where that has then excluded people from doing those jobs. And there's lots of industries that do that. So I'm just going to leave it at that. There's automation. And again, the figure that's being thrown out right now is that 50% of people will be out of a job or need to be retrained to do a different job. And again, is that a good thing, bad thing? I don't know. That's an existential philosophical question again. All right, number 6 here is security and safety. Kind of goes on with accountability, and responsibility, but security and safety are things that we need to think about when we're using these systems, right? But one of the also things is that these systems are vulnerable to attack, right? And what it's going to end up being is one AI attacking another, right? And one of the things that again, futuristically speaking, is that once AI reaches that super intelligence level and it can write its own code and it really doesn't need us anymore, if it was going to be that it's going to, well, now it's going to wipe out the human race, how could we stop it? Well, already the scientists and all the brainy people are saying that actually human beings won't be able to stop it. The only thing that could stop that type of a thing would be another artificial intelligence. So, because it's still, we would be too smart and guess, all the things that a human being might do to try to stop it, where another AI might be able to outsmart it, kind of idea. So it's all of these systems are vulnerable to attack, or, as we sort of talked about already, misuse, right? Again, taking something that could generally be amazing and using it for criminal or other nefarious things, right? So again, and when we're vulnerable to attack and misuse, that is also just you sort of on a personal level, right? And I mean, it could be on a national level, right? On a country level, right? So I mean, either way, it could be you or a bigger system. Okay, so those types of ideas. Number 7 is a ethical use of autonomous systems. Autonomous systems. Okay, I'm probably not going to have enough room to write on here. But again, when we talk about autonomous systems like self-driving cars, cars, trucks, automobiles, right? Okay. Oh, and I want to add because this is huge right now, and drones, right? And of course, if you follow the news, you'll see that again, drones created for the most innocent thing of having a drone come out on your family vacation, or follow you on your hike through the woods or whatever, to now they're dropping bombs on people, right? So again, the ethical use of these autonomous systems, right, like self-driving cars, like drones, and around the decisions that occur using that technology, right? And because of that technology now, the governments have to come up with all kinds of rules, right? Of who can fly a drone, how high can you fly a drone, or you can't fly a drone by an airport, that's not allowed, right? So there's lots of rules that come in with those technologies, and we still haven't really come up with the rules around AI. Right now, it's literally like the Wild West. It's like anything goes, and there are really no rules, and people can do good things and people can do bad things, and governments around the world are going to have to figure out what rules they need to come up with to mitigate the security, the safety risks to people, right? So number 8 is, again, kind of right around that idea of data. So data handling and ownership. And we've sort of covered the handling part, but the part that we need to think about is the ownership piece, right? Who owns that data? So who owns the data? Okay. And I mean, for us saying, give me a lesson plan, I mean, that's pretty low level stuff. But what if you were a research scientist and said, okay, AI, help me create the cure to cancer? And it did. But then who owns that information or that data? Is it the AI company? Is it the research scientist? Who owns it? Right? And it's the same idea when you sign up for Google or any service, right? There's an agreement that you have to sign, and they tell you what they're going to do with your privacy and your data. The same thing goes with these AI systems. And I think the stakes are higher because it could come up with a cure for cancer, where you signing on to Google and doing a search for lesson plan templates, I mean, pretty low level, right? I mean, so again, who owns the data? But again, you might ask an AI to do something for you in the classroom, and that'd be the next greatest thing on teaching and learning. And now who owns that data, right? Is it the AI company, the school district? Who owns that data? So we need to think about that as users of AI. Again, not only for yourself, but what about the kids in your classroom, right? So who owns the data is really the question that we need to think about. Okay. And and I guess we could just say you need to think about the intellectual property, right? Who owns it? And again, as an employee of a school district, you need to know and understand what their rules are around intellectual property. Because even if you're not using AI and you write the next great textbook on social studies or whatever, if you use school district resources to do that, you possibly could be handing over the paycheck that you get from that textbook to the school district because of intellectual property policies. And when you sign on as an employee, you agree to follow the policies of that company, that school district, whatever. So you need to be careful on who owns the data, right? Even if we're not using AI. Okay. Number 9, we're getting close here. Number 9 is informed consent. And again, this is really important around kids. Consent. Okay. And around, kids and the data that kids have, but also around healthcare, right? Who then, when you go to your doctor and your doctor is using AI to diagnose a tumor, or they're diagnosing whatever, something, right? It doesn't have to be cancer or something bad. Then who owns that data, right? Because does the doctor own it? Does the AI company who the software that the doctor uses now have that personal information about something that's going on in your healthy life, right? Who owns that data, and are you even aware that data is going to be transmitted or put through an AI, and then some AI company is going to have that information? Or what about your DNA, right? You have for whatever reason, your DNA sample ends up going into a computer system, right? Or an AI system. Then who owns your DNA, right? I mean, the fact that I've got, appendicitis is irrelevant when you really think about now some company, some supercomputer has my DNA, right? That's a big deal. What about finance? Or what about money? Right? These are things that you don't want the whole world to know about. I don't want the whole world to know about my health or whatever problems I may or may not even have. Nobody needs to know about my finances. But again, when you're using, let's say, an AI to say, hey, what stocks and bonds should I use to increase my retirement portfolio, you're asking a computer to give you that information. And then again, who owns that information? Of course, we would be remiss not to put down education here, right? What if you're using an AI to give report card comments or to mark a student's assignment, and giving that type of information to an AI system or a computer system? Who owns that information? And are the parents and or the students aware that information about their child is being shared with an AI system, etc., right? So, and there's other like domains like healthcare, finance, and education that we could mention, but these I think are ones that really are relevant to us immediately, for sure, right? Okay, number 10 is global governance, right? There's only 2 more, so I'm just gonna we'll get these done here. How are we doing for time, right? Is global governance. Now we're really getting sort of into the big time here. Governance, right? And so AI transcends borders. Right? I mean, all of our information transcends borders, right? When you put in a Google search or you say something to Google Drive, that information could be stored in 10 different countries, right? And we don't even know that. It just happens instantaneously. But the same thing with AI. Do you think AI goes, ooh, there's a border between Alberta and the United States. I got to stop right there. I can't go across that border. Of course not, right? That's silly, right? I mean, but so then with that, there needs to be agreements between governments about how they're going to use that AI information, right? And again, when they're governments that don't agree with each other or agree with each other's politics or ideologies, of course, they want to use that information to get an advantage over a different place, right? So just keep that in mind. Okay, number 11. This 11 and then, 11 and then 12, and then we're done this piece. Pardon me. 11. There we go. Environmental impact. Okay, this is something that you may not even be aware of. But to run these AI systems and the computers that process all of that data requires a huge amount of energy and therefore a huge carbon footprint because it's using electricity for all of that computing power to do all these magical things that happen instantaneously for us as end users. But there is gigantic server farms and the amount of energy that is used to run all of those computers, to cool all of those computers, right? To keep the rooms at the right temperature. So the environmental impact requires or AI, let's put here, AI requires a phenomenal amount of I'll say natural resources, right? And even the stuff that goes into making the servers and the stuff that goes into making the building and the cooling the building and drawing that, like all of that requires natural resources. And so what's the impact, right? Well, again, here, we hear lots about these two words, carbon footprint, right? What is the carbon footprint of those facilities that house all of those servers and all of that computing power in one building, right? So that's important for us to consider as well. Is it good or bad, right? There's the debate between gas-powered, right? Fossil fuel-powered vehicles or airplanes or whatever kind of transportation systems, and electric vehicles, right? Now, the thing that we don't think about electric vehicles, or maybe you have, but some people haven't, is this. Where does all of the resources come from to create those batteries that run the vehicles? But even more importantly, maybe, is when those batteries fail or die, like all batteries do, where does all those chemicals and all of this stuff that is in an electric battery to power a vehicle, where does that go when they're done with it? Right? Does it go in a landfill and poison our water systems? So there is, again, pros and cons to each one of these systems. And that is something I think that, again, we have not maybe potentially thought about the environmental impact of these technologies. Okay, number 12, last one. Okay, and we're going to call this one emerging technologies. Technologies. Okay, so again, as AI advances and gets smarter and all this stuff, there are going to be more ethical. I mean, we can't figure out what to do with it now, and it's not even that smart, right? Once it becomes a super intelligence, then what, right? So what ethical challenges are we going to have? But, right, if you watch the video, right, one of the things that we've talked about and one of the things that's in the video are deep fakes, right? When you're listening to somebody or looking at somebody, is that really the person? Is that the voice of that person? It sounds like Brad. Is it really Brad? Right? And so these deep fakes are only going to get better and better and better. And of course, it's already a huge problem with deep fakes and putting, especially celebrities and stuff, putting their faces into pornographic videos, right? I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it is, right? And so that's something that we need to consider, like what's the limitations of this and how do we mitigate all of these deep fakes, right? I mean, it's probably not going to be that far before a student can point their phone at you and make a deep fake of you saying something or doing something in the classroom that may or may not be true, right? So stuff like that. So then at that point, then what do? Do we say absolutely no phones on school property or in the classroom, or what do we do with that, right? So things that we need to think about. Something that just happened this week for the very first time ever, brain and computer interfaces. Okay. And so Elon Musk has a company called Neuralink. And what he wants to do is he wants to put computer chips. I'm really dumbing this down, but to put computer chips into people's brains to control certain things. Now, again, the positive side of that is things like epilepsy and things with brain injuries or things like that that are good. But of course, you know that somebody is going to implant some computer chip in somebody's brain and turn them into a super killer or something like that. I mean, I'm thinking sci-fi here, but it's going to happen, right? I mean, we're going to have these brain computer interfaces that are going to do amazing things to help people maybe even walk again, right? When they're maybe have a spinal cord injury or things like that. And so we have those positives, but then somebody's going to take it and make it something bad, right? So, but we got to go with both. So with these emerging technologies like that, okay. Now, let me just have a look at this next little piece here. Okay, so let's just talk about potential. Oopsie, come on, you stinker. Potential careers involving AI. Right? And again, I mean, this is applicable to you, but it could be applicable to your students as well, right? And I've got a long list, but I'm only going to mention some of the ones, right? And maybe these are just the ones that I were interested, but a computer vision engineer, right? Hopefully, maybe you can imagine, it's not going to take long before there's going to be eye implants for people who are blind, or auditory implants for people who are deaf. And I mean, they already have them already, cochlear implants, but I mean, something even better than that. And maybe it's those neural link technologies that Elon Musk, maybe he's going to be able to do that, right? But computer vision engineers, and now what I'm talking about here is like information from video and images, right? So I already said that there is AI that can spot cancerous tumors and x-rays and stuff better than doctors can. Well, somebody had to program that AI to be able to recognize whatever it is on that x-ray, right? So when I talk about a computer vision engineer, that's the person we're talking about, is people that are doing facial recognition or the autonomous vehicles or any type of medical stuff, right? So any kind of information from videos and images, right? Big, right? Another one, and you're going to see that a lot of these end in engineer, right? A robotics engineer, right? So again, these are people who are programming the robots to do everything from flipping a burger to making a car, building a house, like doing an operation on a human being event. That's going to happen, right? If we're doing tattoos, it's not be long before they're going to be performing operations on us, right? So robotics engineer, right? I mean, these are the people that are programming, right? The robots into doing whatever it is that we want them to do. Okay. Right. Again, we talked about the Khan Academy and that Khanmigo tutor that can help kids, right? Well, again, who programmed that AI to be able to help kids solve math problems or write a better story or whatever it might be? So, right, AI educator /tutor. Okay. One of the things that I did read this week, no, maybe earlier this week or late last week, was about, and it's the age-old question of exactly this: is there going to be a robot at some point that can replace us as teachers? And what all the people who are way smarter than me and maybe all of us combined says no, right? I mean, there's a law from the 90s. I think it's back in the 90s. There was a guy, I think his name's Alan Thornburg. And he said, any teacher that can be replaced by a computer deserves to be, right? So when we go back to, who said that? I can't remember who said the thing about computers, will the robots have emotions or the AIs have emotions? That's one thing I'm not sure right now that we know how to do. And maybe that's a good thing, but maybe until the point where these robots would have emotion, teachers would not be able to be replaced. But again, we talked about the AIs or the robots being tutors on the side and helping that kid who needs help, or that group of kids that need help when you need to be over here doing something else as the teacher. I think that would be the ultimate, right? But again, think of this. If they can create an AI to do that, are we replacing EAs in the classroom then? Right? Would a robot be cheaper than a human being educational assistant? Well, it might be. Maybe not initially. Maybe the robot will cost a lot, but in the long run, you don't have to pay the robot. They don't get sick pay. They don't get vacation pay. They're never sick, right? They never slack off, right? They never, all the human things that you could think of that any of us could do at a job, that those robots or AIs won't do that, right? And so maybe we will be replacing people in the classroom. Maybe all of us. I don't know. I don't know yet, right? Again, what jobs will there be in 20 years from now? I don't even know that, right? Okay. Let me just scroll down here. There's lots more. Oh, of course, I've got this one. How about this one? AI this is for all of us gamers, in gaming, right? So obviously improving or adding, graphic elements to those games, right? That's something that AI can do. We saw that picture of the lady in the soccer field and how it made the soccer field into like, some castle forest scene, right? Of course, graphics and it just, enhance the experience of the gamer, right? And we already play online games where there's AI robots in there anyways, and they're following you around and shooting the bad guys or whatever it is that they do. AI is already part of gaming already, but it's going to just get better and better and better and be able to personalize it, right? So I mean, that's the big thing here, just like education, to personalize your experience, right? Because what you want out of a VR headset or out of a PlayStation or an Xbox or whatever might be different than what I want, right? Or the types of games I like versus the types of games you like, that kind of idea, right? It's got a couple more here that I want to mention, and we've kind of talked about it already, is AI in agriculture, right? And just on like a little bit of a side note on that is they're already using AI now to help figure out how to prevent forest fires, right? We know this is a big problem right now, that we have these hot, dry summers that are occurring. And I mean, unless you're living on another planet, the smoke and stuff that we've had over the last couple of summers, right? So that's part of the deal. But I mean, pardon me, this was number 14, I think, by the way, is that, right? Precision crops, right? And again, everything from planting it, fertilizing it, weed care, and obviously all the way up to pulling the crops off the fields and selling that grain. I mean, so every piece of that crop is going to be utilized. I mean, everything from the moisture in the soil to what kind of seeds to plant, et cetera. So the whole thing, right, will be optimized. And they're already doing that in farming, and they've been doing some of this for years already, but that kind of stuff. And then the last one, as far as future jobs, that I just love talking about this one because it always blows people's minds a little bit, is AI in retail, right? And so again, imagine walking into Bootlegger or pick, whatever, a Lululemon, but all of a sudden there's not a person there. There's some little robot that walks up to you and says, "How can I help you today?" Right? And you say, "Well, I'm looking for a new outfit or new jeans, new whatever," and they help you with that, right? And we already have AI in retail, right? Remember we talked about chatbots where I have a problem with a product and you text back and forth with a person, right? That kind of stuff. So the other one that I like is, and this has been around in Japan for years and years and years, is you can go into a Levi's store for jeans, right? go into a change room, strip down naked, bunch of lasers scan your body, send that information to the Levi's factory, and they create a customized pair of Levi's that fits your body type exactly, right? So it's not that far for clothing where I mean, if Levi's is doing it now for jeans, you know that other people are going to do it for other products as well, right? Your newest jacket, your pair of shoes, whatever, right? They're going to be able to do that kind of stuff. All right. How are we doing for time? We're just about out of time. And let me just see. We've got a tiny bit more notes, but we don't have time for all of it. So here's what we're going to do. We will leave it at this, where our next title, and we've just got a few things like this to do, is key things teachers should know about AI. Okay, so that'll be our next topic. So next day we'll cover that. Let me just go to Google Classroom here for a second. So, and then also where we're headed is we are headed off to, still thinking about working on our lesson plans. But then the next thing that we're going to do other than sort of this AI bit that we need to finish, is we're going to be working on something called HyperDocs. And HyperDocs is kind of another, I crop it in sort of into the same family, not the exact same identical thing as a lesson plan, but into the same family as planning. And so if you've heard about HyperDocs before, it might be a little bit of a review for you. But if you haven't heard about them, then we're going to be not only using a HyperDoc as a student, but also creating our own HyperDocs for teaching and learning. Okay, so with that said, what I'm going to do is I will release the HyperDocs readings and resources so that you can familiarize yourself a little bit about it. And I will also release the HyperDoc. Okay, so if I just click on it here, I'll just show you real quick. It is basically just a series of readings and things that to do in and around HyperDocs, just to familiarize yourself with it. Then I did have a Kahoot, but I've had a lot of problems with people not being able to access it. So you don't have to do this piece. You can skip this Kahoot, okay? And then on this part here, we'll do both of these door number 1, door number 2, but we'll do them in class. Okay, so really all you have to do on this HyperDoc is check out what's under the Discover section and what's under the Learn. And then in Google Classroom, there is nothing to submit. Okay, so if there's nothing to submit, like a Google Doc or a Google Form or whatever, then of course, I think you should know that then you just mark it as done. Okay, so it's a bit of on the honor system that you actually did the stuff on the HyperDoc, and then you can mark it as done. When you mark it as done, then I will give you the 5 marks that go with this HyperDoc. And I'm doing that just so you have a little experience of what a HyperDoc looks like sort of as the student. But then of course, we're going to flip that over and go, let's create a HyperDoc as the teacher. Okay. Any thoughts or things on your mind? Can we make trees that do the same thing as real trees? Well, I don't know. I mean, they do have, Emmeline, they do have carbon scrubbers now that are removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So in a way, yes, right? Because I mean, that's one of the big things that trees do is they remove carbon dioxide, and they already have machines that can remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So in a way, the answer to your question is yes. All right. With all that said and done, if you got no questions, comments, concerns, or things on your mind, head on out, enjoy the rest of your week. If you need to talk to me, stick around and I will be here to help you out with anything you want. And I'm just going to stop the recording right after I answer Michaela's question. Okay, just want to talk to me after class. Okay, perfect. All right, thanks everybody. Have a great day, and we will see you next time.